It's been 2 years since I found out. That morning I was supposed to be getting ready to go to City A for a work event. My wife, Lily, was upstairs, packing my suitcase for me. I was just sitting in the living room, and that's when a text popped up on her phone that was left on the coffee table. It read, "See you tonight, babe. Room's booked." I quietly canceled my trip, and that evening I followed her. I watched as a man put his arm around her, and they walked into a hotel together. But I didn't rush in and start a fight. I didn't cause a scene. I just felt this strange, dark humor wash over me. My wife, who seemed so gentle and kind, was having an affair. I spent a few days just staying in a cheap motel, thinking everything over. When I finally came home, I pretended like I was just back from my trip. I gave her a big hug, and I felt a weird sort of twisted thrill when I felt her hesitate in my arms. We had been married for 6 years, and we had a 5-year-old son. Our life looked perfect to everyone else, and people always told me how lucky I was to have such a great wife. But I knew this family everyone envied was about to fall apart. After what I saw, I started looking at my son differently. I noticed that he didn't really look like me. A scary thought crossed my mind, but I never got a DNA test. Instead, I poured all my love and affection into him. I bought him toys, took him to amusement parks, made him his favorite meals, and picked him up from school every day. The reason was simple. If he was my son, he was about to be part of a broken home. And this was just a small way to make it up to him. And if he wasn't my son, then being good to him was a way to make my revenge even better. My wife, Lily, isn't drop-dead gorgeous, but she's pretty and elegant and carries herself with a lot of grace. She used to be one of my fans when I started writing. She would send me gifts on the online platform, and we eventually started talking on social media. Now, here we are, living together. I genuinely liked her. Not only was she beautiful and elegant, but she was also gentle and caring. My friends always told me I must have done something right in a past life to be so lucky. I was happy too, until I found out she was cheating on me. The craziest part was that her cheating wasn't a one-time thing. For 2 years, she had been with the same guy, her boss. If she had been with a bunch of different men, I could have just blamed it on her being reckless. But her loyalty to this one man made me think that she actually loved him. One morning, Lily reminded me it was her dad's birthday and that I should buy some tea and ingredients to cook dinner at their place. Of course, I said sure. My mother-in-law used to run a restaurant and didn't save much for retirement. My father-in-law was a retired factory worker, and his pension was just enough for them to get by. But now, my father-in-law suddenly wanted another son. He thought raising a son alongside his grandson wouldn't be a big deal. Lily and her mom were totally against it. They brought up all the problems with it, from money to their age. But I was fine with the idea. I make good money writing now, and I wanted to help out. But things were different because his daughter had betrayed me. "Mason, did you see the news about that woman in her 60s having twins through IVF?" my father-in-law excitedly asked as I walked into their house. "Yes, Dad, I did. If that's what you want, I'm with you," I said. And then I sent him $3,000. "Use this for IVF. If it's not enough, I'll help more." Since finding out about her cheating, I had been showering her parents with kindness, even more than their own daughter did. They were going to be a huge part of my revenge plan. He was so excited he brought out 2 bottles of his best wine. He was all smiles later while we were getting dinner ready. I knew he now saw me as his personal cash machine. After my mother-in-law picked up the kid from school, I texted Lily to ask when she'd be home and told her to drive safely. I set up the table and put the birthday cake in the middle. Under the candlelight, looking at their faces, I let out a cold laugh to myself. Lily told us not to drink too much, but her dad just laughed and said with a son-in-law like me, he had every reason to be happy and was going to drink all night. Lily got a text message during the meal and said she had to work late. She told me to stay at her parents' if I drank too much. I knew exactly what she was doing. My vision was a bit blurry, but I told her gently, "Honey, if you didn't eat enough here, get something on the way home. Don't go hungry, okay? After she left, I got some photos and a video. They were all about her and her boss. Since that first time, I had hired someone to keep an eye on them. Now I have a cloud storage filled with evidence of their affair, ready to be used. After I drank her dad under the table, I played games with my son until he fell asleep. I made sure he had his nightly milk and bedtime story. I was spoiling him, turning him into a little prince. I wanted him to depend on me so that when Lily and I got divorced, he wouldn't want to be with her. I don't plan to take him, so I want their relationship to be difficult. With that satisfying thought, I left him with his grandma and went home. My income from writing is way more than what Lily makes. 2 years ago, I gave all my money to her, but after I found out she was cheating, I only gave her a small part of my payments. It was still more than what she made, so she never noticed. Just to be safe, I registered another pen name using my dad's ID. The rest of my money went into his bank account. Our house is also in my name from before we were married, so it's mine. After the divorce, my finances won't take much of a hit. Later, when my wife came home late one night, a twisted thought came to me. As she closed the door, I came out of the shadows and grabbed her. I started cackling like a maniac. She thought I was staying with her parents, so she was completely caught off guard. She freaked out and told me I was crazy, and she wasn't wrong. I felt like I was losing my mind, but honestly, if she hadn't cheated, I wouldn't be like this. I wouldn't be so twisted and dark. Lying awake in the dark, my eyes were moving everywhere, so I started looking through the photos and videos on my cloud drive. They're like magma, just waiting for that explosive moment. I've been going to my in-laws almost every day, partly to be with my son and make him more attached to me, and partly to be nice to them, so everything is ready for the big reveal. The next day was the Dragon Boat Festival. My wife was working again. I spent a few $100s on some action figures for my son, bought some expensive bracelets for my mother-in-law, and 2 bottles of nice wine for my father-in-law. I wasn't stingy. My father-in-law has always been kind of greedy, and my mother-in-law has been kind to me. She helps with our son, so part of it was because I was grateful, but most of it was revenge. Mason, why are you spending money like this again? You should be saving while you're young, my mother-in-law said, even though I could see a smile on her face. I handed over the gifts and said, "Don't be so formal with me. You guys help us with our son. This is the least I can do." I added more emotion to it and said, "Your daughter turned out so well, and trusting her to me, no amount of gifts could ever repay that." My mother-in-law teared up a little. "Mason, you're such a good kid." My father-in-law put the wine away and laughed. "Mason worked hard cooking yesterday, so let's let the missus handle it today." After she went to the kitchen, he leaned in and whispered about the IVF. "I spoke with your mom, and she was hesitant, but she finally agreed." I got so excited that I slapped my leg. "That's great!" He looked a bit surprised by my reaction. I calmed myself down and said, "Dad, I'm so happy for you. Now Lily and I will have a baby brother." He looked proud and said, "That's the spirit, son." After a moment, he added, a bit awkwardly, "I heard there's a higher chance of twins through IVF than natural birth." It's a good thing. Who doesn't want twins? We were both excited, but for completely different reasons. If they are boys, they'll need a house, he worried. He looked at me, and I told him, "Don't worry about a thing, Dad. My writing payments are more than enough for everything." He was relieved and said to himself, "The main thing is the house for them." "Leave it to me," I said, trying not to laugh. I hadn't expected my plan to go this smoothly. A big smile spread across his face. "Mason, we're counting on you. You're much more reliable than our daughter." A few days later, they tried IVF, but it didn't work. That evening, I mentioned it to my wife and suggested we use some of our savings so they could try again in a bigger city. Her reaction took me by surprise. "Mason, are you crazy? You're supporting their IVF without even telling me? If it works, Guess who's left holding the bag? They're almost 60. She stared at me like I had lost my mind. Explain yourself. Why are you so eager for them to have a son? Are they your parents or mine? I gently held her and explained, Honey, they've always supported us. From raising you to watching our son. They have this thing about not having a son, and we can finally help. I can write more books and we'll manage. I was smirking inside as I kept a serious face. I felt like I had done enough. She didn't argue anymore, but she looked puzzled. I knew my plan was almost done. Our house was my premarital property, and most of my money was in a different bank account. The next step was to drain her money. The thought of her leaving with nothing made me smile. But I knew there were still questions about the costs and housing for the potential kids. Honey, I already talked to Dad about this. I'll buy the house for the kids, I said, patting my wife's shoulder. The long novel I wrote a couple of years ago is still in the process of getting its movie rights. When that's done, we'll have enough to buy not one, but 2 houses. I was just making things up. Her eyes lit up. I nodded with a smile, and she finally smiled too. Before my in-laws went to another city for the IVF, we had dinner at a restaurant. It so happened that my wife's colleague was also eating there. He came over to say hello. I recognized him right away. He was the guy my wife was cheating with, her department head. He was polite and acted well-mannered, but I could still see the flirting between them. I picked up a toothpick and started cleaning my teeth while looking at him, and I suddenly laughed. Mason, are you okay? My father-in-law asked, looking puzzled. I quickly changed my expression and forced a smile. Oh, it's nothing, Dad. I'm just happy for you guys. He still looked confused, so I added, I'm sure things will work out once you get to the city. I'll definitely get the kids a great gift. Thank you, Mason. You're so good to us. Having a son-in-law like you is a blessing, he said. My heart was cold, but I tried to keep my warmest smile. You don't have to thank me, Dad. It's what I should do. I'll even hire a caretaker for you guys in the future so you don't have to worry much. Mason, you're so thoughtful, he said, patting my shoulder, looking pleased. Seeing his satisfied face, I smiled too, but we had 2 different smiles. Mom, Dad, we can't go with you, but be safe once you're out of the airport. Take a cab and don't be cheap, my wife said, wiping her mouth with a napkin. Got it, sweetie. We're just in our 50s and still pretty strong, my father-in-law said, flexing his arm. My wife nodded and turned to me. Mason, why don't you take Mom and Dad home first? Johnny and I need to go back to the office to work on a bid. She glanced at Johnny, probably giving him a thrill. It was so shameless. They were flirting right in front of me. I quickly grabbed Johnny's hand and held it tightly, acting like I was just trying to be a good friend to someone who was sleeping with my wife. Hey, Johnny. Lily always speaks highly of you. Thanks for looking out for her. Please continue to support her, I said, lightly patting his hand. Johnny grinned back. Maybe only I noticed the mockery, disdain, and glee in his eyes. It felt a bit twisted, but I liked it. Johnny thinks I'm clueless, but I saw right through him. It's funny how they're both under my control. After we got back, I told my father-in-law, Dad, just work with the doctors on the IVF process. Don't worry about the costs. Even if you end up with twins, I can handle it. Each novel I write is like a house. I just need to write more. He was so happy. Mason, that's great. People say a brother-in-law is like a father. You've been like a father to my kids. They'll be good to you when they grow up. Of course, my wife didn't come home until the next night. Her hair looked freshly washed, like she just showered. And she did. The photos from the person I hired showed them going to that hotel again. At home, she was extra nice, trying to cover up what she did. Mason, when will your movie deal come through? Everything okay with it? She looked concerned. I took a bite of an apple and said confidently, Don't worry, my editor is pretty reliable. Hope it goes well. We're counting on you now, she said, leaning her head on my shoulder. Sure thing, honey. Good days are ahead. Go to sleep, I'll join you soon. She kissed my cheek lightly and went to the bedroom. I stared at her back, and then wiped the spot where she kissed me. 2 months later, my father-in-law came over with a huge smile on his face, announcing my mother-in-law was pregnant with twins. I couldn't help but laugh. 2 boys. It was going even better than I had planned. Dad, let me send you $20,000. Get some good food for Mom. Let's make sure everything goes smoothly, I said, happily sending the money. Great, thanks, Mason, he said, checking to see the money went through. What about the house for the kids, Mason? He asked after a moment. Dad, they aren't born yet. Mason, the house prices are rising fast. We can't take any chances, he said. That's true. Houses are getting pricey. My movie deal should be set in 2 months. How about using your savings and a mortgage on your house for the down payment? Are you sure about your deal in 2 months? He asked. I looked him in the eye and nodded firmly. Well, we're using all we have. My retirement won't cover this, he worried. I'll handle it, I told him. In my head, I was thinking, I won't just be covering these few months of mortgage payments. I'll handle the payments for months to come, right up until the 2 kids are born. After a lot of convincing, my father-in-law finally got my mother-in-law to agree. They took out their savings and property documents, and we went to the sales office of a new apartment complex. We bought 2 250-square-meter apartments and got a $2 million loan from the bank to be paid back over 30 years. But here's the thing. I already knew from a reliable source that this complex was going to be abandoned during construction. When we left the sales office, I looked at the bright sun and took a slow breath. My revenge plan was almost complete. I just had to wait for those kids to be born. I had to keep acting for a little longer. 6 months later, before the kids were even born, I found a reason to stop paying my father-in-law's loan. By then, my mother-in-law was obviously pregnant. The kids were fully formed. It was too late to get rid of them. It must have hurt them so much to be betrayed at such a crucial moment. I have to admit, I've become a darker person. But can you really blame me? Didn't my wife push me to this? If she hadn't cheated, if she weren't so set on cheating over and over again, would I be like this? And let's not pretend my father-in-law is a saint. Before we were married, he barely looked at me and said the meanest things. Then he saw I made money writing, and he shamelessly asked for help raising his son and buying 2 apartments. Now I have him begging me again and again. Mason, did your royalty money come through this month? Can you lend me $6,000? If we don't pay on time, the debt will just get bigger and bigger, he said, walking into my place, his face full of worry. I looked at him, noticing his gray hair, and felt a strange sense of satisfaction. Dad, the editor said the platform is getting ready to go public, so there's a lot going on. The royalties are delayed until next month. What? What are we going to do? Your mother is about to give birth. We need money now for the loan, too, he said. He gave me a quick, angry look, but he quickly covered it up, still hoping for my money. Don't worry, Dad. I'll think of something else. I acted all thoughtful and worried. After a while, I looked up and said, Dad, how about we mortgage this place? We could get a good amount of money from that. Yes, what a great idea. He finally seemed a bit relieved. Mason, let's go right now. Hold on. I have to check with Lily first. If I don't talk to her about something this big, she'll kill me, I said, acting worried. He got a little annoyed. Fine, call her then, but hurry up. I nodded and called my wife, making sure to put it on speaker so my father-in-law could hear. As soon as she answered, I gestured for him to be quiet. Honey, are you busy? We need to talk. If you have something to say, just say it. I have stuff to do, she snapped back. Dad needs to make a loan payment on those apartments. My royalties are delayed and won't come until next month. Can we mortgage our place to cover it? As I expected, she got angry. Mason, have you lost your mind? Did you talk to me before you decided to help them buy those apartments? Now there's a problem, and you want to mortgage our home? What are you thinking? Don't mess with our house. Find another way. I could almost see her rage through the phone. I saw my father-in-law's face go pale with anger. I encouraged her. Honey, listen. Mom is due in a few months. We need money now. Can you at least think about it? Don't even bring up those kids. Raise them if you want. I'm not getting involved. You all already ruined this family, she screamed, and it made my ears ring. I quickly hung up. Ungrateful brat, so ungrateful, my father-in-law shouted, starting to shake. Raising this daughter was for nothing. I'm going to her work right now, just watch me. I rushed to stop him, pretending to calm him down. Dad, let's wait until she comes home, and I'll try to talk to her. Move, Mason. I need to deal with her today. We raised her, and now when we need help, she ignores us. He shook my hand off and stormed out. The moment he left, I started laughing. For over 2 years, I had given my wife so many chances. If she had just ended things with that idiot, I would have stopped my revenge plan. But she kept cheating, draining our savings, getting us into debt, and turning our home into a mess. All of this is her fault, not mine. I never wanted to ruin our family. But what other choice did I have? This family drama is going to make her and her father pay heavily for what they've done. The worst is yet to come. I do feel a little bad for my mother-in-law, who is caught in the middle. After all, she has been kind to me. For now, it's out of my hands. I'll try to make it up to her in the future. I turned on my computer and opened my cloud drive, starting to sort through 2 years of photos and videos. On a whim, I played a video from a couple of months ago. I couldn't help but laugh. It was filmed by someone I hired to spy on my wife. It wasn't evidence of her affair, but I kept it anyway. When her father confronted her at work, he looked crazy. That incident created a huge fight between them. Her reputation at work was also ruined. Her coworkers thought she was ungrateful and a bad person. I closed the video and moved it to a separate folder. In the folder, there were a dozen photos and a video. I labeled it with the location and time. There are 47 more folders just like it over 2 years. 47 times. That's twice a month. Looking at it this way, her cheating rate is pretty high. As her husband, I'm just for show. After organizing the photos and videos, I copied them to 3 USB drives just in case. There'll be strong evidence for the divorce. I picked a few shocking photos and made a short video. Who knows, it might come in handy. After doing all that, I couldn't sit still anymore. My mother-in-law is due any day now. If I don't go and be a part of it, how can I call myself a good son-in-law? My in-laws must be getting old. They didn't even close the door all the way, leaving a small gap. I pushed the door open and walked into the living room. I heard them talking in the bedroom. They hadn't noticed me yet. I was about to go in, but I stopped when I heard a conversation I shouldn't have. Should we have taken out a loan so early? 2 homes, and we're 2 months behind on the mortgage. The debt is growing. Do you think what Mason told us about the movie rights is true? It was clear my father-in-law was starting to have doubts. I used to think it was mostly true, but now, well, if things don't change, we might have to sell those homes. Back then, no one wanted Lily because she was pregnant with someone else's kid. I had to find a good son-in-law for her. Hearing this, I was shocked. My mind went blank. No wonder she got pregnant so soon after we got married. Now I get it. Even though she had a miscarriage, I was their scapegoat. They treated me like this all along. My mother-in-law's kindness was all fake, just out of guilt. A rush of anger filled me, and my vision turned red. Now that the last bit of attachment was gone, I could finally get my revenge. Once I made up my mind, I calmed down quickly. I backed out quietly and closed the door. I waited a moment and then knocked. My father-in-law opened the door, and his frown turned into a smile. "Mason, you're here. Any news on the movie rights?" I shook my head, forcing a smile. "Nope, still nothing. Let's wait a bit longer." "Oh, really?" He watched me closely. "You seem upset. What's wrong?" Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't check well enough. The housing development you bought into went out of business. I covered my face, pretending to be in despair. Inside, I was trying not to laugh. I knew about it days ago, I just hadn't decided when to tell them. Now seemed like the perfect time. What? Are you serious? My father-in-law grabbed his chest and sat on the sofa. I rushed to comfort him, and he gripped my hand. Mason, you'll cover the loan, right? We can't manage it, you promised. Before I could say anything else, his phone rang. Dad, is Mason there? He hasn't picked up the kid. The art class ended and now the child is alone and crying. Dad! I cried out. I'm sorry. I can't be your son-in-law anymore. Before he could react, I added, Lily cheated. Mason, what are you saying? My wife's tone softened instantly. Dad, Lily's been with Johnny in her department for at least 3 years. Someone sent me photos of them. I was clueless until I saw them. Knowing this, I can't write, so I haven't earned anything lately. Lily, is this true? My mother-in-law grabbed the phone and got angry. Mom, let me explain. My wife's voice was weak, but the phone hit the floor. My mother-in-law fainted too. When she was taken to the ambulance, I slipped away. I had done enough for them. My head was spinning. I didn't want to go home, so I hid in a motel. I couldn't understand why. After working so hard, I was living like this at almost 30. My wife wasn't really mine, the kid probably wasn't mine, and I didn't even feel like myself anymore. Staring into the bathroom mirror, the reflection felt strange and terrifying. I was consumed by bitterness, becoming twisted and dark inside. Would this revenge ease my resentment? I don't know yet. Maybe time will tell. When I turned my phone back on, it had been almost a day since I left. There were dozens of missed calls, mostly from my wife and a few from my father-in-law. I drank some water, deleted the calls, and opened social media. Wow, nearly 200 messages. I scrolled up and read through them, mostly from my father-in-law. Mason, why didn't you get in the ambulance? I can't find you. Call me as soon as possible. I have no money with me. Come to the city hospital. Mason, why is your phone off? We're waiting to pay the hospital fees. Mason, you're a jerk. Disappearing even if Lily did you wrong. Your mom has been good to you, right? And now you vanish? You're a jerk. Those pictures of yours might not even be real. It could be someone trying to mess with you. All right, you jerk. Just you wait and see. Above that were my father-in-law's mean messages. Seeing this, I couldn't help but laugh. The old man finally stopped pretending and showed his true colors. Scrolling up, it was just my wife's messages. It was funny, really. She sent more messages this time than she had in the past 2 years combined. I never knew she needed me this much. Where did you run off to? Why is your phone off? My mom is in the hospital, don't you know? Why didn't you go see her? The kid is still at his class, and you didn't pick him up. Mason, you're such a jerk. Do you believe every random photo sent to you? It's obviously photoshopped. You really don't trust me. Are you even human? My mom needs surgery. If it's not done soon, both she and the baby could be in danger. Bring $5,000 over quick, okay, honey? I'm swallowing my pride here. Please, for the child's sake, bring the money over. Mason, you're useless. You can't even make money. You just disappear. Even if those photos are real, what do they prove? That I'm cheating? It only shows I have good social skills. What a nerve. Does she really think I don't have solid proof of her cheating? She really underestimated my ability to find a private detective. Watching my wife switch between cursing and begging me, I felt a little satisfied. Without me, her life is finally falling apart. Scrolling up further, there were some voice messages. I clicked play. It was my son. Dad, where are you? I miss you. Come back. Dad, I want your fried rice and your braised ribs. I hate takeout. It gives me a stomachache. Dad, take me home to play games. I don't want to be in the hospital. I hate the smell here. I laughed, but soon my eyes got watery. I shouldn't use him. He's just a kid and shouldn't be hurt like this. My heart softened. Who says kids have to look like their dad? Maybe he really is my son. A month later, my father-in-law threw a big 1-month birthday party for the twins at a hotel. The place was full of people. Everyone from my wife's side of the family showed up, along with a lot of my father-in-law's old co-workers, the neighbors, and elderly folks from the square dance group. My father-in-law collected so many gift envelopes his hands were sore. He couldn't stop smiling. They really were struggling for cash. When I saw the messages that day, I gritted my teeth and went to the hospital to pay. After all, 2 kids and my mother-in-law's lives were at stake. I didn't want to be blamed. Luckily, I got there just in time. Afterwards, my wife and I started sleeping in separate rooms. We just couldn't go back to how things were. But suddenly, my wife seemed to change. It was like she finally remembered what I meant to her and started trying to win me back every day. For the sake of my son, I haven't completely ended things, trying to find the least damaging way out for him. Today, my wife insisted on dragging me to the party. I kept a serious face. Seeing my in-laws, I felt nothing, just like seeing strangers. My father-in-law, though, looked at me with even more contempt and unhappiness, as if I had somehow wronged their whole family. Pathetic. I had just sat down when my eyes locked onto someone. Johnny, smiling as he walked into the room. I gave my wife a dark look. She seemed to shake and looked at me in shock. She clearly had no idea what was going on. Maybe my in-laws invited him. Sure enough, when they saw Johnny, they lit up and hurried over to greet him. My father-in-law was all smiles, barely able to hide his excitement. A few moments later, they came our way, but they stopped short. My father-in-law motioned for my wife to come over with our son and join them. She looked at me in a panic, but he insisted. Eventually, she took our son over. I took a sip of my drink and kept an eye on them. Johnny reached down to touch the kid's hair, and suddenly it all made sense. They were side by side, and it hit me. They did look alike. The dimples especially were the same. In that moment, I got it. They were the real family here. My in-laws must have figured this out much earlier, which is why they were doing this today. They were obviously getting close to Johnny. My fist clenched tightly, and I could feel my veins popping out of my skin with anger. Just then, Johnny and my wife's eyes met, and sparks flew. The more I realized, the angrier I got. The glass was about to break in my hand, but I put it down, got up with a tense expression, and walked out. When I came back into the hall, it was silent. On the big screen, videos of my wife's affair with Johnny were playing. It wasn't long before the guests started whispering, pointing fingers, and taking photos. When he realized something was wrong, my father-in-law rushed to the screen, shouting, "Turn it off! Turn it off!" But the controls were in a different room. The screen kept playing as people started cheering. Johnny, seeing the video, turned pale and ran out with his face covered. My mother-in-law, who was still recovering, fainted from the shock. Everyone was in a panic. My wife stared at the screen confused until she finally understood everything. Then, with a crazy look in her eyes, she searched the room and found me. "Mason, you did this on purpose. You wanted to humiliate me and make my life miserable. I admitted my mistake. But why are you still treating me like I'm dragging you to hell with me?" The voice was so loud. My head was ringing, and the world was spinning. I suddenly burst into laughter. Laughing, I fell to the ground, my head tilted back, with tears streaming down my face. These past few years, I felt so trapped. Is this really what I wanted? I quietly wiped away my tears, closed my laptop, and took a long sigh, finally finishing the novel. Family Storm. My name is Mason, and I write online novels. When I write, I get so into it, like I'm one of the characters. One minute I'm crying, the next I'm laughing, then I'm acting all weird. Being an adult, it's a little embarrassing. I quickly patted my face to look more normal. Bang! The study door burst open, making me jump. It was my son, always so reckless. Dad, Mom's done cooking. Come out and eat. His little voice was so sweet. It just melted my heart. I was just pulled out of my novel world, and I realized how nice it is to join my son and wife for a meal. I feel so happy and wonderful. After dinner, I drank my tea on the couch. My son was playing with Legos, and my wife, ever gentle and kind, was packing my bags in the bedroom. I was heading to City A for a writers' meeting. While she was packing, she was talking to me. I mean, your dad's almost 60. Why does he want another kid now? Isn't this making things harder for us? I was about to reply when her phone on the coffee table chimed with a text message. I looked over without even thinking, and a chill went through me. The message read, "See you tonight, babe." Suddenly, my head was ringing, and the world spun around me. Mason, I'm talking to you. Why aren't you responding?